Time to go back to Fear Street.
One way or another, you're gonna die tonight.
There it is. It's not just a diary, it's a map.
I'm not letting you die.
My sister's still out there.
Hey guys, welcome back to Pop Culture with Pat. So today we are talking about Fear Street Part 2, 1978. This is the second chapter in the trilogy of Fear Street films that are coming out, on Netflix. Part 2 has just hit today, and then Part 3, 1666 will be next week. But this is Part 2, so there will be some slight spoilers for you guys. If you haven't seen Part 1, you definitely want to check that out and then come back, and watch this because there might be some slight spoilers. But without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about this movie. So this movie opens up and we basically get to see it pick up right where, the first film left off. We get to see, the two, the kids, the brother and sister, they're going to meet up with, the survivor that they, made contact with in the last film. And so we see that, kind of take place in the beginning of this movie. And they also, pop back up at the end of the film to kind of bookend this part of the story right here. So, but for the most part, this movie takes place in 1978. And that was really cool. It all takes place at a summer camp, Camp Nightwing. And you can see, while the first one was paying tribute to, the 90s, slashers with, Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer, The Faculty, things like that. This time around, they definitely pay, more tribute to, Friday the 13th, Part 2, or just that series kind of in general, and also films like The Burning and stuff like that. So for the most part, it plays out as a traditional slasher, because you have these kids at this camp, and all of a sudden once again we have a killer's on the loose and he starts hacking up these these campers. So it sounds pretty familiar, but that part of the story I thought was a lot of fun. There is quite a few, the body count in this thing is pretty, up there. And I would say, as far as, while it doesn't necessarily have a memorable kill as the first movie does, talking about Kate's death with the bread slicer, this movie doesn't have that one death where you're ooh, I'm gonna really remember that. But the way that some of these campers get hacked up, I was oh, Jesus Christ, this guy, he means business. When he's going around hacking these people up, he doesn't just do it one time. It's he's cutting into these people multiple times, cutting limbs off, heads, things like that. So it gets pretty crazy. And not only that, but you see the older kids and stuff like that, they get killed, the counselors. But you also see some of the kids actually die in this movie, and that I was kind of surprised by, because a lot of time in horror films, they'll kind of shy away from that. That's not something that you usually see too often. So when you see a couple of these kids, get killed, I was wow, this film does have, some balls to it as far as that goes. And not only do you get, the slasher part of the story to it, but I think, this film, it did a good job of, we get to learn a little bit more, mythology as far as especially a specific, killer that we met in the first movie, but you also get to learn a little bit more about the backstory and mythology of Sarah Fier. And I mean, that kind of makes sense. This whole thing kind of revolves around her and what happened back in 1666. So we do get to learn a little bit more information as far as that goes. So I thought overall the story was pretty compelling. It kept me interested throughout. And it was just a lot of fun. I thought the pacing, they did a good job. It starts off, we kind of get introduced to these different campers. We have Sadie Sink. She plays the lead or the younger version of the survivor, from this film. So we see her. She's the lead character. She has her sister who's in the film as well. And I liked their back and forth. You can tell that they kind of have a love-hate relationship. So I thought they were both really good. But really all around, there was a lot of really fun, enjoyable characters in this movie. And you do get some arcs with some of these characters as well. So I think as far as that goes, the writing wise, they did a good job with that. The kills, I thought, were pretty, even though not as memorable as that, like I said, that one particular death that we got in the first film. There was quite a few of them, and yeah, when shit starts going down, it is really going down in this film. I was wow. Also got to talk about the, the soundtrack with this movie, just like part one, where it's like, if you liked part one, as far as the music goes, I guarantee you're probably going to like the soundtrack here. I listen to like a lot of these songs like anyways, but if you like, listen to like the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack or like Supernatural, you're gonna recognize like a good amount of these like songs. So that was pretty cool, like especially the way some of the songs were linked up to like certain scenes. I was like, wow, that is a fantastic choice right there. So great job with the music, the score. Marco Beltrami, did that like again, and I thought that was done really well. There was definitely some like hints to like Friday the 13th. Like I definitely remember hearing some like so that, that was really cool. And there was also a reference to Carrie, which I guessed that right, in the trailer that we had, before I watched this. So definitely some other like horror references as well this time around. So if you're a big horror fan, I think you guys, will appreciate that. And once again, I think this movie, even though it's part of like a trilogy, I think that it does a good job of being able to stand on its own. Like, I mean, obviously it does help, seeing like part one, like I mentioned, to kind of know like, what's going on. But if you just, for the most part, just like watched like, the slasher story, I still think, it's enjoyable like overall. So yeah, guys, I mean, I had a lot of fun with this. I mean, I grew up, watching a lot of these, these like older like horror films when I was like, younger. That's kind of how I got like, introduced to like, horror and stuff like that. So it was really cool to see them revisit that. I thought, the characters led by, Sadie Sink, like her performance was great. And even some of the other characters, like I thought they did a good job like as well. A lot of kills. So if you're in that, as far as like the horror fans go, you're definitely, I think you're going to be satisfied as far as like the kills go. And overall, it was a really fun time. Like it's, I felt like it went by really quick. Like there wasn't really any parts that dragged for me. And I had a blast. I honestly think I might like this, a little bit more than part one. So overall, as far as the score goes, I'm going to give this an 8.5 out of 10. If you guys are a fan of, like the slasher genre, especially like those films like The Burning, Friday the 13th, I think you guys will definitely dig this. It was a blast, and, it's something that I could see myself, revisiting both of these movies, multiple times. So, but yeah, I want to hear what you guys thought. Have you had a chance to check out part 2 yet? Definitely let me know, what you thought down below in the comments. Did you like part 1 better, or did you like part 2? And, are you looking forward to seeing how they kind of wrap everything up with part 3? Let me know down below in the comments. If you guys are new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button as well as the bell button next to it. That way you get notifications for all my new videos. Please give this video a thumbs up. And as always, guys, please make sure to check back for more Pop Culture with Pat.